Chop Nation, what's the word? Happy Thursday night. This is actually the scheduled time we were planning to be here. If you really deep in Chop Nation, you know we was with you on Tuesday, but we're back again here to rock with y'all tonight. We down one, definitely missing lead. Before we even get to that, my name is Toya G. So happy to be rocking with y'all this evening here at the Chop Up Show. Definitely want to shout out Consciously dealing with and navigating loss and his family, and really kind of sending love and prayers as they navigate all of those things, but giving him some time away to focus and be with the people while we go ahead and push the conversation forward until he can come back and rock with us. So we've accounted for myself, we've accounted for Lee. Who else we got with us tonight?
Y'all know what's up. It's the plug. Shout out to Chop Nation. Shout out to Lee and his family, man. Prayers up to them. But as Lee told us the show, we gotta keep it cracking. So we're gonna hold it down for him and everything they got going on. But yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. Y'all make sure before we get too deep that y'all come in here and say what's good. You drop some comments. Let us know y'all in the building. Happy to be here. Where you from? All of those fun things. We plan on tapping in with y'all tonight for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're about to start doing to start the Chop Up Show, most if not all the time, is to get in what we call the 2-minute drill. We as former debaters are used to speaking under time pressure, under a little bit of a crunch, but also making sure we are kind of covering and getting to some important things that need to be talked about. So shout out to Miss Ma'am in the building, tapping in with us. Definitely Chop Nation all day long. What we're gonna do with this 2-minute drill is I'm put 2 minutes on the clock right here. Y'all hear the timer going off. I'm gonna hit start. And we're just going to jump into some different topics. Go ahead and say our piece about them. It ain't really going to be a whole lot of back and forth. What's up, Jose? We're going to, just kind of jump into the conversation. BP, what's the word? Tusk up in this thing. And we're just going to get into it. We're going to cover our topic, and then the next person to go, we'll talk about it, and then we'll get to our major topic for tonight. Our major topic, by the way, is we're going to get into the shutdown and what's going on with these old Democrats, what they got cooking, what they got up their sleeve, and whether it's enough. Is it enough? Plug. I got 2 minutes on my clock. You ready for you taking the first swipe of the 2-minute drill?
Yeah. The first story to get out the way real quick is ICE is leaving Minnesota. ICE is finally leaving Minnesota. Now, while a lot of people look at that like a victory, like we really came up, we really pushed back enough. Of course, the administration is saying that that's not what the case is, that they actually accomplished their goal. They got over 4,000 arrests. And the reason why they're saying that the reason why they're leaving is because they actually have better coordination with the police department and that type of shit. However, regardless of what we're hearing from the administration, the reason why I would say that is not necessarily a dub is because the chaos that they cause hasn't really brought any institutional structural change and no differences. We still seeing like what we about to see with this shutdown, the same type of bickering, the same type of back and forth. And what I'll say is, as much as we heard about what was happening in ICE in Minnesota, the fact that they was ignoring what was happening with ICE in LA during the same time period, because people in LA wasn't having it. And so while off break, we can appreciate the fact that those people aren't being harassed or being harangued as much as they were, and dealing with those experiences, having to witness not just one person get killed, but 2 people get killed. Like, it leaves a black hole still, even with them leaving. Right, without the institutional and structural approach or a change that's necessary, we still have Kavanaugh stops. You can still legally pull somebody over, stop them, and ask them for the ID for looking like an immigrant, regardless of whether or not ICE is in Minnesota. So before people start jumping up and down and being too excited, being too happy about ICE leaving Minnesota, remember, it's still a long way to go. And this, what we about to see with this shutdown fight is about to be a part of what we can actually get out of that. So first story out the way, knock that out.
There we have it. 2 minutes on the clock. I want to go ahead and talk about these Epstein files real quick, and the issue that I have with the Trump administration just heavily trying to press that we should all just move along and get over it, right? That we should be over the Epstein files. We saw it, with a lot of Trump's tweets and this, that, and the other. It's not nothing in there. This is all a waste of time. This is all a part of the witch hunt, blase, blase, blase. He is continuing to kind of peddle this idea that we've seen the most that we're going to see out of this, and it's mostly because they haven't released all the files and have weirdly and oddly broadly and incorrectly and terribly redacted a lot of them. So that's why, people are still kind of there. But he's like, we've given you all we got. We should just move on to the next thing. Then you got Pam Bondi hooting and hollering about with NASDAQ or whatever being at 500 and this and that in the stock market. When she was asked, more specifically about what's going on with the ICE raids and, with the Epstein files and with all of these terrible things that are going on in society right now. And the thing that bugs me out the most is that this is what they ran on. You want people to shut up about stuff that you wanted to talk about, that you pushed the envelope on, that you won the election on because you said you was going to reveal some people. Well, the Clintons is already saying we're willing to pull up. I'm sick of ducking and playing with talk to them, but for some reason y'all being real squirrely about the facts. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't want us to talk about affordability, but y'all ran on affordability. I don't want to talk about a lot of stuff that you gain ballots off of. So to be clear, here's a list of administration officials, current administration officials or administration adjacent officials listed in the Epstein files, people in your crew that you wanted to talk about when it was sweet for you, right, for the election. That would be Donald J. Trump, Melania Trump, Howard Lutnick, which is the Secretary of Commerce, John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy, Paolo Zampolo, the Kennedy Center appointee, RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kevin Warsh, the federal nominee, Mehmet Oz, the Administrator for Health, Elon Musk from Doge, Steve Bannon, the former senior advisor, Alex Acosta, the former Secretary of Labor, Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, and Brett Ratner, the film director for Melania's film. So be for real. Like, you don't want to talk about it. Yo, these your people. That's why you don't want to talk about it. That's why you want to move on. Crazy. 2 minutes on the clock for you.
All right. So 2 minutes, these damn ring cams. So if you, as much as the controversy was about the Super Bowl in the context of the halftime show, another huge controversy that came out of that was the ring camera, new Find Your Dog feature that they displayed, where you had the cameras in the community locking onto one dog walking down the street. And that shit's supposed to be cute. And that would be cute if we ain't seen enough movies to know what a dystopian future looks like. They are literally selling police state, security state as we can help you find your dog. It's like a search party. Stop playing with me. If you can if you could identify a lost dog walking through a community, you can identify people just as easy. And knowing the relationship with the FBI and with law enforcement and Ring, the type of transparency that Ring has working with law enforcement, you think we want to be like watched by the police as we walking down the street? Like, that's the type of technology that we should be embracing. As much as we've already we got GPS devices following us in our pockets. Yeah. All of our information is now digital, so everybody know who everybody is. We are losing any real semblance of being quote unquote disconnected. It can't happen. The Ring camera shit is cute. It makes for interesting videos, a nice handy security system. But at the point where they're literally saying, "Hey, we watching how dogs walk, and we also give this data to the FBI, to the police," then we should really be second guessing and questioning the motives, the function, and and how much we willing to embrace this technology. So.
Thank God it's a feature for you to be able to turn it off, but we need people smart enough to do that. 2 minutes on the clock. And by the way, shout out to Ashanti, shout out to Rick. Miss Ma'am, I don't know what's going on with these ads, but Daniel, I didn't get a chance to listen to it in its entirety, so I don't want to give a hot take. I've been listening to clips and blurbs and stuff like that of Cole's album, but I think, that's one of the plug. If you know the plug, J. Cole is on the short list for this man. So we definitely need to have a take on it. And I think we might end up circling back to the album.
We'll talk about it at the end of the show. We'll talk about it at the end of the show.
Well, there you have it. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. My last topic, and then the plug got it, and then we're going to move to the major topic of the show. I gotta go ahead actively, even though this is about a week ago. I need to go ahead and call this out by name. I'm very disappointed in Druski, right? I think Druski's comedy is interesting. I think he is a step above and a cut above a lot of his peers in terms of the improv, in terms of the approach to strategy, right? We always ask him questions. How did him and Desi Banks even get where they be at? How do you get access to these people's stuff? Get in there, that is, a take on the process and the approach of online comedy and situational comedy and improv that I tip my hat to. But what he did at the NFL honors kind of celebration where they acknowledged the award winners for the season, he gave the MVP award to Jackson Smith,
Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, offensive player of the year. Sorry,
Yeah.
to Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, and his last name is unique. I forget what specific African country he is from and represents, but I know that his last name is hyphenated. I think to pay honor and due diligence and respect to a member of his family, probably his grandfather, who was just very influential to him. And so, I did the fact that he got up there in front of everybody, in front of the whole United States, in front of the whole world, and make fun of his name in ways that we already know white people already do, that we already know anti-black people already do, in circles and spaces where we don't see them in these days, real boldly, and ones we can. Like, I just don't know why that was the move. I have questions about whether the NFL wrote it and he executed it, whether he got up there and just did it himself because he thought it was funny. But I think it was in absolute poor taste. And I think it's one of those things that makes you cringe, not only because it's messed up, but it's also because it's one of the things that's like, you don't do that in front of the white people. Don't do that in front of them. Yeah. Don't do it like it's bad enough when you're gonna do it in a group chat. It's bad enough when you do it off to the side, but play with him or do some shit and say it on the side of the stage. Don't get center stage in the biggest moment of his life. How selfish of you, right? The name he has is gonna be on that word that's cemented in the legacy of the NFL, and play with it. His last name is Njigba. Say it right and put some respect on it.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 2-minute drill for you.
All right, this is the last one, and we're gonna get into the story. I don't know if y'all been watching the news recently, but Pam Bondi just got up there and made an ass of herself. And as much as she lied, as much as she misstated facts, as much as she attempted to divert attention away from shit that Toya talked about, they campaigned on, I think the bigger problem that we see with what's happening, like with people like Pam Bondi, is we are watching white privilege function in our face. We are watching people who are ineffective, who are inefficient, who literally suck at their job, have some of the most important roles necessary to the function of this government. And it's these type of people. Like the fact that we got lectured about diversity, equity, inclusion, not having anything to do with merit, as we watch them fail over and over repeatedly. Whether it's indictments that don't go through, like literally the statement was, you can indict a ham sandwich. The Trump administration literally failed to do that. Now I'm being facetious. They tried to indict a protester for throwing a sandwich at a I think it was an ICE agent or something like that.
Right.
And yeah, they didn't get the indictment. They suck. And Pam Bondi is another example of a I don't want to be disrespectful, and I don't want to come off misogynistic either. So I'll repeat another example of white privilege. We repeatedly have to watch these people throw a fit in public and still be considered legitimate just because of the seats that they occupy. So again, black people, do not let these type of people lecture you about merit and where you belong when we watch them be terrible at the jobs that are handed to them because of what they look like.
And just like that, that ends, or rather completes, the 2-minute drill. Let's go ahead and slide over, plug, two more political talk, because you kind of talking about conservatives. We've kind of gotten into Pam Bondi and the missteps. I've listed a bunch of people in the Trump administration directly tied to the Epstein files. But now we're having more conversations about the Democrats. Finally, they seem to maybe perhaps be shaking the table, depending on how you look at things. Go ahead and take it away and start moving us through this conversation about Democrats and the shutdown.
All right, so the way that the situation is currently, funding for the Department of Homeland Security is set to be set to expire 12 a.m. on Saturday, February 14th. The reason why we pretty much know that there's going to be a partial government shutdown come Friday is because these people didn't already left their jobs. Congress don't stay nowhere, what I'm saying, stay nowhere or stay in Washington any longer than they need to. So they didn't got up out of there with no vote happening. So we're going to see a partial shutdown with DHS. Now, unfortunately, we gotta front load this. Let's keep it a stack. ICE is still be funded. Border Patrol is still be funded. So the people that are essentially responsible for the shutdown because of how they moving, they still gonna get their bread up until September due to a previous proposal. But you have TSA that's gonna be shut down. You have FEMA that's gonna be shut down. You have the Coast Guard that's gonna be shut down. And any processing for visas and naturalization is going to be slowed down. And I think what Toya is wanting us to talk about is whether or not this partial shutdown is a victory. It's something that we could look at and be like, it's a benefit. And I think we want to know from y'all as well, because this is the Democrats saying, and being able to get enough Republicans on their side to say, hey, we're not funding DHS until we do something about how ICE is moving, till we do more. So does this look like, they putting their foot down? Does this look like Democrats are sticking their chest out? And so I have to ask you, Toya, because I think my answer is pretty obvious, but I have to ask you, does that look like that to you?
I think to the untrained eye, sure. Right? But I think that it becomes a whole lot more complicated when you start to think about like the necessary patchwork of meaningful actions that is necessary to even kind of scratch at the surface of things, right? The solutions that we have to what's happening are largely rooted in the solutions that we had to solving problems are largely rooted in the courts, right? We're at the behest of the judicial branch of the United States and how it functions to save anything. And so when we think about like Democrats and even what they're trying to do, what they plan to do, we don't know nothing. And so this is like, interesting, right? That your name can finally be unequivocally attached to like at least some show of strength and a backbone, some chest. But I don't know if it makes it like redemptive in terms of like them being out there and about that life. But I think it's cute. And I think if you don't really know nothing about nothing, you might see Democrats and be like, oh, okay, I see y'all. Be strong. Like, but no.
You know what? And this is the problem that I have with this whole shit. That's why we have to front load. ICE is still getting their bread. The Border Patrol is still getting their bread. And them is the ones that we supposed to be trying to create deterrence for. And I think even the fact that this can be perceived or looked at as Democrats being tough is an example of how low the bar is, though. Seriously, like I don't think at this point Democrats aren't capable of doing what's necessary enough for people to want to vote for them instead of voting against Donald Trump. Like they would have to do a complete 180. This would have to be a completely different party for people to be like, I'm actually supporting the Democrat come November. Yeah. And the problem is, we see where that got us last time. You know what I mean? We like shit. It got us right back to where we started. Biden was. Toya, how many times did I make the analogy that Joe Biden was a rebound president? That Joe Biden was the relationship.
You had a whole breakdown of it, as a matter of fact.
Joe Biden was the relationship that you get into after you get out of an abusive one, or a bad relationship, emotionally, whatever, right? But y'all both know y'all not that ain't it, right? So this is like a little temporary thing, and it was supposed to be a temporary thing. But Joe Biden and Biden supporters acted like this was going to be that was supposed to be a long-term relationship. It couldn't be. He's 90. It's not happening. And so what happens when a rebound relationship fails? You get back with your ex. And that's what we're witnessing. So whoever else that, like, when we look at the rest of the Democratic Party, it can't look like it does now in order for people to feel like when they get to the polls, that's actually, they're supporting somebody on a Democratic ticket instead of just saying, get this person the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And the fact this shutdown don't do that at all. And my fault, but I'll leave it at that. I'll let you respond to that.
You're not wrong. And I think what is kind of frightening to me is there is no true face behind these gestures and moves. There are certain names who pop up. There are certain, like, one of my favorite people to like watch kind of get in the Trump administration's ass is Ro Khanna. Like, I'm really kind of starting to like really enjoy his, matter of factness and his very kind of direct, no nonsense, but also his tone is always very even, very calm. He's in control of his situation. Like, he's not being moved by what's happening. But It's just like no real faces that either stand out as leaders in the Democratic Party that's constantly putting their foot down, constantly drawing lines, constantly beating the drum. I mean, I guess, we have flashes of Jasmine Crockett. We have flashes of, AOC is always going to bubble up in some, hot button moment or something like that. But it ain't, I don't know. Like, it's just like, I don't know the names of the Democratic Party to say this is a notch in the direction of, change, and the shift is being led by people who we see and who are visible, who are speaking out, who we're already familiar with in the party, that are at least having some type of awakening, that's saying, okay, we really in here now for the win, right? And so that makes it difficult, because then that's tied to even candidates, right? Like, I feel like we need to be, is it too early to be talking about like who Democrats are courting for that position, right? Like, I feel like we should be having, maybe it's too soon and I don't know timelines of politics, but like discussions about who could be the person who, is a favorite, who, like, and instead it always kind of circles back to Gavin Newsom, and then one day he's the devil, and then one day he's the most, strategically, keen and powerful, and then the other day he's the devil, and then so that's all I'm getting. And I'm just like, I don't see this as at all supplementary to shit they have going on.
But that's because I think, like, that question is always the question I pose to niggas once elections come around, and it's just like, well, who y'all want us to vote for? It's like, nigga, who have you supported? Who have you advocated for? What research have you done into a candidate that you would actually be? And if you found that candidate, what the fuck did you do to support him? The problem is we are in a cycle to where we complain about the people that they put in front of us, and then literally do no work to put our own out front. It's not enough people that are willing to say who they would vote for, given the opportunity. And so, like, as long as it's up, the conversation is about, well, who's out there, like, who do we got to select, right? Like, as long as we stay at this place where it's about whatever candidate got the most name recognition or whatever most attention, because like Gavin Newsom, that's all he got is name recognition. Because once he starts sitting around with Ben Shapiro, it's like, nigga, we knew you was that. I don't care how crazy you talk to Donald Trump, bro. Oh, you are smart enough to pay for a good social media team.
And that's why I feel like it's so,
but you sit with Ben Shapiro, bro. Like, stop. Like that, and that's the type of shit that make him the devil. That's the type of shit that make him the problem.
And that's like people, have been saying the thing, because I'm on, like, I don't know. I'm saying this in a world where, I think I'm finally in a place professionally where I'm like committed to living a life in California. But before, I was not so much, right? So I'm like, where would you move? Where could you move? And I cannot give you a state that I would want to live in outside of this state, right? And a lot of that is because of what the governor has done, what he is not playing about, and some of the, progressive things that he has done, implemented, allowed. This is not, though, saying that I'm not keen and hip to a lot of the terrible shit that he's done and what he's created. That being said, and that aside, like, all of that to say, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else but California. However, one of the things that always gives me the ick is when people are like, he's the devil, but he's my devil, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a terrible person, and we recognize that, but he's mine. And like, so there's this relationship or this, cognitive dissonance that is a little bit too heavy-handed for me, where you're willing to look certain things in the face and know that they're messed up. I absolutely hated the ways that he manhandled, and I literally do. I try not to use gender language, but literally manhandled homeless encampments and went to show and prove a point about how serious he was about eradicating homelessness here, not in the regular way that you would think, where you would give them more access and resources and shit like that. But no, you want to tear up the encampments and move them around with your bare hands to show. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is where I'm just like, ah. And so then, of course, trans antagonistic statements about trans athletes and things like that. Then you have sitting down with Ben Shapiro. Like, you just have all of these different glaring examples that it's just like, I can't go heavy-handed on the ownership. I live where I live and I stay where I stay. And I'm grateful for the scope and scale of what that looks like. But that man is also just not to be trusted. Not to be trusted. That's where it's just like, it gets real sticky. So real quick, as a sidebar question, real quick. What country would you live in if you could live outside the country? At least drop one. Daniel asked that question real quick. What's your answer? Just real quick. Drop it.
Nigeria. Fuck it.
You would live in Nigeria. Why?
I feel like I'd be a damn fool to say anything other than Africa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to trade white people like that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I think I really want to build a deeper relationship with the continent. You know what I'm saying? So I can have a little bit more of an apt sense of you. Because honestly, we are tethered here, and I don't know, that language kind of gets weird in terms of yeah. But we are deeply connected.
But you use it tethered correctly though.
Exactly.
Like you're
right?
using tethered correctly. Yes.
We
like
are
blackness
so,
is tethered to America. Like this
we are so deeply kind of connected to the world that we know, and so deeply farly disconnected if you haven't had the privilege or the honor of having your ancestry, knowing your lineage, doing the ancestry situations, that it's like, to me, the way that the experience is sitting on me is just like, it's hard to know where to go. Like, I want to treat the continent with respect, and like the double digit amount of countries that's over there. But my heart is not led to a particular place. So it's hard for me to be like, I want to go to Africa. Like, yeah, of course, obviously I want to go to Africa because I don't know enough about my connections and my roots. I mean, I guess any country would do, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's not get it twisted, but I don't know. That's a question I will have to think about. In terms of places I've already been, where would I go back if I had to live somewhere? Definitely Panama. I think I will go back to Panama. Okay, that was my little side quest of a question because
Obsidian Flint had a good comment though that we wanted to highlight, is that people need to give more attention to policies than the name someone carry. And I've been saying that for years now. It's really that simple. Like right now, politics is set up for personality worship. You know what I mean? It's like we look at, especially since Obama, presidents have become celebrities. You know what I mean? And because if I'm gonna be honest, if Joe Biden if you know what I'm saying, was about 30 years younger, shit, he may have had a shot for another chance. But when you can use, his functions, you know what I mean, and with him aging and him being like pretty old, you know what I'm saying? Like then, that's a reason to get him up out of here. So 100%, especially as we move into these midterms, definitely need to be more of a focus on policy instead of what what somebody's name is and what letter is next to their name. Go ahead, Toya.
I mean, I think just two things that I was thinking about, kind of in terms of it's really weird how we get to like not falling in love with names, you know what I'm saying, and celebrities, because the reason why we got Donald Trump, his celebrity, is because we were tired of the politicians, right? Like we were just so sick of the people who were lifetime politicians who only played the game like the game had been designed to be played, and it was refreshing. Right. That was one of the kind of spins on his presidency during the first one, is that it was refreshing to maybe finally get some new takes and get a businessman in the White House. Right. We keep having these politicians. What happens when we have somebody who, we know plenty of failed businesses, lost money, lack of, long-term development on a ton of different projects.
All of that is just code words for white supremacy, though.
And when it's all said and done, but that was part of the shtick. That was one of the selling points. And so as much as we don't want celebrity, and this is not to undermine, paying more attention to policy, but it is just to say it's an interesting deviation where we went from policy-oriented people who know policy, who do policy, who policy was their bread and butter, and we wanted to pivot out and try out people who weren't, career politicians. This is where we get a Oprah should run. This is where we get a The Rock should run. This is where we get a Stephen A. Smith should run. Is this desire for people who do anything and know anything except the policy. So fascinating stuff. I forgot the second thing that I was getting to. Did you ask me a question?
No, we was gonna get into whether the shutdown and whether or not this is the type of leverage that would give people the inspiration. You know what I'm saying? To actually support Democrats as opposed to I think we should just let them die though. I'm gonna be honest. We should let the Democratic Party as we know it. We got to let it collapse. I don't think we should get excited about shit. I think we should look at why people vote for Democrats as not being excited for them, but needing to create that transition. But if there's not enough of a focus on like what rubric do we introduce, what rubric do we create to shape what that transition look like, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're fucked. And a part of it is stop, like even with these shutdowns, thinking of it from the perspective of that there's any way that people can win from a shutdown is really problematic. Like the fact that they position shutdowns as quote unquote leverage is like that shows how less they give a fuck about people. Because when people lose benefits in this context, TSA workers not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some of the hardest working people at the airport not getting paid. Like we are looking at a situation where who does that actually benefit in the long run? Especially you got multiple shutdowns where Democrats got nothing out of it. So I using it, attempting to still use it as leverage in 2026 sounds ridiculous to me.
I mean, perhaps. I think the thing that I kind of think about is, I don't know. Like I think it is really, the Democrats are in a strange position because they can point to these kind of blips in the radar that I think maybe it makes it look like they stood up from some things and stood on some business, but I still don't necessarily know what they would even do for the second half of like Trump's presidency with their majority. Like there just doesn't seem like a trajectory to do with any momentum that they create. And so that's, I think, the thing that is concerning for me. I don't see them pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and I don't see them stirring souls enough to get the apathetic voters to the ballot box, right? I think the Trump administration has done such a great job in making a circus out of what the political process is and really taking political theater to such a new heights and new levels. And Democrats haven't done enough
to political reality TV. Hey, that's,
you know what I'm saying? Like in the craziest way, Lauren Boebert getting diddled and smoking a vape in a theater. Like, what are we doing, fam? Like, what are y'all talking about, fool? Like,
Toya,
yeah.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
No.
Because I think this is what fucked me up the most is that like we are seeing like political power at its weakest. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing it lose legitimacy at a ridiculous rate. And still we become apathetic as opposed to being like, it's time to start taking shit. It's time to start thinking about political engagement from an offensive standpoint because our opposition are completely inept, completely ineffective.
And that's the thing, and that's what I was really getting at is the Democrat in the face of what the conservatives and Republicans have offered in their form of what governing looks like. Yeah. The Democrats haven't offered any counter narrative. I
said if you can call it governing.
If you can call it that, but then it's just like I'm also skeptical about the type of governance that you have and that you offer as well, because it seems very null and very void of voice or body for what you are standing on, what you do believe in. And we've kind of said this phrase before, but we say it again. People are looking for something to vote for, not just something to vote against. And so that's what I'm looking for is the substance and the fodder of what's next. Are you going to run on affordability? Then what is different? What are the nuances? Who kind of leads those conversations? How do we get there? And what changes? How do you undo some of the economic gridlock they're in? What are the proposed? Because that's my thing. Like, what is a technocrat? How do you define a technocrat? Let me ask you that question. And then there's a comment I want to get to too. But do you know?
I think it's where like professionals are not necessarily professionals, but like experts are run. I'm looking it up right now, but I think it's like where experts actually run the government type shit.
Because like I don't know, I seen some take that's just like it's gonna take for it to even like swipe at in any type of broad stroke the undoing of a lot of what Trump has been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time that it would take. And this person used the term technocrat over the next 8 years to really go in and start to reverse what's good, Melodious. A lot of the things that's happening or that have happened over this presidency to like recorrect and reroute. You know what I'm saying? Because like, how do you put museums back? How do you unname shit that you changed from the Kennedy Center to the Trump shit back to the like? You know what I'm saying? Like people who just is that just somebody who passes a bunch of policy? Like what does that look like? Describe
a technocrat, like I said, it's a person who exercises authority or influence based on their specialized knowledge and technical expertise. So it's like experts, people, but again, experts in the context of what? In the context of not necessarily business, you know what I'm saying, but more so in the context of like understanding government, understanding what's necessary. Like, so you need, like, essentially what the point that person was making is that the people who should be in charge should be the people who know government inside and out, who knows how it functions and why it should function the way that it do. The problem with having a technocrat though is that there is there's the social element of governance that politicians require. A technocrat is like they're good at the technical part, for lack of a better term. But the
they don't have the
social
soft
part
skills. They don't have the bedside manner. They don't have
exactly. So like they'll be able to put the government back together, but at the cost of what? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and two questions are posed. I'm gonna read Obsidian's comment, and then I want to read Daniel's comment. Daniel says, "Don't we already have that?" So is it? We have, I think, seen time and time over and again, and 1,000 times plus 10, that these people are completely inept about how policies work, how they run, everything from the lawsuits that they attempt to leverage against people, to the policies they try to pass, to like shit that is being like just markedly discriminatory or just illegal, right? Like we've seen those referendums from the judicial system, right? Not necessarily from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court been on bullshit, but at least in, lower courts, but federal courts and things like that, I think we've been seeing that these people are terrible at knowing the nuances of the law and being able to navigate it in a way that, is meaningful. However, they also, I guess I want to take a step back, because you look at shit like Project 2025, you look at the different check marks you can put past some of the policy maneuvering that they've done, and I guess, it's somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's somewhere in the middle. Now, Obsidian said, we don't need politicians that are going to play the game. We need people that will fight for the people they represent, instead of companies that pay for their campaigns in the interest of other nations. But that's the thing, right? We need for policies to be passed that disallow corporations to function as individuals, right? That disallow corporations to kind of have these freedom of speech and freedom to do and freedom to fund,
freedom to buy elections,
like to exist, right? So there needs to be greater regulation, and until that happens, you're not going to have those types of campaigns. And then one of the things me and Plug have talked about all the time, even in terms of our own lives, right? Like as former debaters and just, individuals who have always been more socially and politically and culturally inclined, even as children, are the people in our lives have always asked, when you going to run for something? When you going to be city council? When you going to be the mayor? When you going to be the governor? You need to be the president. Girl, you need to be the president. Been hearing that my whole life. But the higher you get, and this is why politics is such a carefully orchestrated, really fucked up game that we playing here, is that the higher you get, and for you to get high enough in those levels to become a president, you got to do some tricky shit. You got to have access to some sticky shit. You got to be able to, and I think galvanize, you know what I'm saying? And it takes the negotiation of certain principles. I think certain like commitments to certain infidelities to certain groups of people, to certain causes, to certain stuff you can't say. And the greatest example of that, not that he necessarily always wanted to come in here beating his drum, but Barack Obama not being able to pull up and be like, I'm the black president, right? There's some shit you got to shed in order to make those moves. And so by the time we get done peeling back all those layers, we ain't got nothing but a shell left that people can paint on and put on what they want to.
Right. And Toya, that's why usually a question that I like to ask people, especially people who don't vote, is what would their perfect candidate look like? Like what if you could, if you were to cast a ballot, you said, I have a ballot, I can build my candidate and I can cast my ballot for that candidate. What would that candidate look like? Yeah. And then the second part of that question is, now is that candidate electable?
And we talked about this. We had this conversation.
He said, what?
Trevor said Shaq. I interesting, but no. I got a couple questions for Shaq and how he move. On one side, he be big Uncle Shaq. On the other side, I'll be like, bro, what is you doing?
Right. What's going on? But that's the problem we run. The problem we run into is our personal demands and our personal politics, as opposed to what can get somebody in a position of where they have to reflect not just your personal politics, but the politics of that whole community. That's a part of the struggle for having pro-black type politics or black first type politics or black nationalist type politics, and then try to say, well, I want to speak to a whole state or I want to speak to a whole community. Because regardless of whether or not we, recognize it, the inherent anti-black nature of the society that we live in makes it difficult for those types of comments, like being pro-black becomes difficult to a larger audience. Pro-blackness only makes sense to black people, because once that becomes a political narrative, then everybody is like, what about me? Here's the kicker. Not even recognizing, what do black people deal with? Poverty. Motherfucker, if we fix poverty for black people, it's not only going to fix poverty for black
For
people.
black people, yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, what they're used to doing is when we fix it for ourselves, we used to fucking other people over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When we're creating a benefit, we're doing it at the detriment of somebody else. So if they do something for their benefit, it must be at the detriment of somebody else too.
Somebody
That's
else, yeah.
ridiculous. No.
It's just, and it's a very binaristic way of navigating the world, right? Like black, white. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there has to be like this clear demarcation, this line that you create because we have created a clear signifier and a rallying point or something. So it's just like pro-black has to mean anti-white, right? And we've been having these conversations for generations as we attempt to describe and explain our rally cries, to explain our, you know, attempts to de-assimilate or disassimilate, to do things from everything from cut the relaxers out of our hair to, you know, do all types of shit. It's an explanation that it's just us loving ourselves and ain't got nothing to do with you. It kind of do, because we would not have had to be so
it becomes
aggressive and pro robust in our love and declaration if you didn't try to tamper with some of that. But it's just really us like going back and falling in love with ourselves again, right? Returning to like, for some reason that hurts your feelings.
Right. It's like, it's like, why does your pro-blackness have to be so loud? Because your anti-blackness speaks volumes.
But that is a constant. It is the constant polarity, right? The constant axiological approach to navigating the world that they have to share with other people. If they over there, we got to be over here. If you gonna do this, we got to come all the way over here and be like, that's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? If you gotta speak Spanish, we're gonna tell you that it's only English up in this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like literally constant examples of kind of this binary without dualism, right? So it really is the worst of how we approach the inevitability of two, right? The inevitability of multiple. We know that it's always going to be that, but instead of finding a way to be dualistic and be both and, it is a constant either or, and that is a psychological, deeply embedded, genealogical, what is the concept that's used to explain traumas passed down through generations?
Epigenetics.
It is an epigenetic condition of white people, right? To kind of force themselves to a corner when situated, you know, amongst other people. This is why you see the angry and violent acquisitions and colonizations, imperialisms of different regimes of people. Because just like, y'all not us. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you know, I was having a conversation on YouTube. It was one of my Hebrew partners. Shout out to the homie. But again, you know, there's always these constant conversations about like what the community needs to do, and it's usually situated around our mentality. And the comment he made was like, we need to know that, you know, either you take or your shit gonna get took or some shit like that. And I'm just like, bro, that colonizer ass mind. He was like, no, he said rule or be ruled. And it's like that colonizer ass mindset. Like, do you know how many like people existed in just what they was doing and didn't have the necessity of having to take, you know what I mean, or go and impede on somebody else because it wasn't required. That mentality goes into like what I believe how we attempt to take on the knowledge of the colonizer as opposed to decolonizing the way we see things and understanding that it doesn't have to be that way. So as long as we exist in a world where what makes you great is going to be something that diminishes me, or I have to diminish something else in order for my greatness to exist, then it's that being proud of not like whatever heritage, because we see how mad they are about the Latin American heritage at the Super Bowl. We saw how mad they was about that black militancy at the Super Bowl. So cultural expressions being hated by American society, and really not even just by white people, because when you adopt that American mentality, diversity and other cultural expressions is like, it ain't American. Like when I hear people like black people say, I need you to speak English, I'm like, no. No. Not what? Are we serious?
You sucked in. You lost in it. That's all. You lost in it.
So yeah, that's why I feel like, you know, especially as we go into 2026, and like we think about what is about to appear as a Democratic wave of support. Like people fuck with Democrats like that.
Yeah.
And we have to come to agreement now that it is necessary. It is necessary to get Trump the fuck up out, or not even to get him up out of here, and then not let one of his cronies get that spot because he's done, right? But we have to make sure that these Trump cronies that we trying to get up out of these positions in the midterms, we have to make sure that whoever we put in that spot isn't just not them. It can't just be not MAGA. You know what I mean? Even if we got to make it competitive, it can't just be not MAGA. Like, yes, there's going to be a blue wave because I already know what we're going to hear, especially because Lee, because we on Lee's platforms too, that his audience is used to Lee being called a Democratic shield. I get on YouTube, I get called a Democratic shield. Toya don't really be in online communities like that, but I'm not
gonna give you the chance.
Yeah, okay?
What you talking about? I know what I am. I know what I believe.
Yeah,
and so where I see you in the streets or at the ballot box, little hoe. Go ahead.
And so let's come to an understanding that regardless of what the media portrays it as, this blue wave isn't going to be a question of whether or not Democrats deserve support. It's going to come down to the fact that the current circumstances have reached a point where the debate about whether or not we should be paying attention to Democrats and Republicans does not matter. These people, the conservatives that support Donald Trump, that have become MAGA, which is really all of them, who's kind of like made it possible for that to be successful. We in unison, it has to be condemned. It can't be what about the Democrats, because when you look at the 2 years that we're going into of Donald Trump, everything he promised, all of these, but what about the Democrat people? But what about the Democrat people? It was a lie. No day one affordability, no day one Epstein files. Epstein files now they don't even care about. The tariffs are destroying the economy. People are losing jobs. They've literally said, hey, our job numbers are so bad, let's fire the person that does them and then put in somebody and install somebody that's a lie. That's willing to lie. That may sound hyperbolic, but that's literally the reality of what we're dealing with. Donald Trump fired the person that was the head of job statistics because of how bad his job numbers were.
He tried to get Jerome Powell up out of there too. Like, tried to get the man from the Fed. He just doing his job, fam.
Tried to fire the only black woman Fed governor. The one black woman. I can't get Jerome Powell. I'm gonna go after her. Supreme Court case, right? That's going on where that didn't went to the highest court. So it's like, there's no more. No, Democrats don't deserve the support that they about to get. They haven't earned it. But Donald Trump and his cronies is that bad.
So Donald Trump, or the Democrats haven't earned it. Donald Trump ain't shitting, we know that, but it's going to take more than that to really check the table. I want to circle back to one of the many topics we started with to kind of close out the conversation, and that's this whole ISIS getting out of Minnesota situation, right? Yeah. To me, it's more obvious than anything, right? And especially like this happened. I'm not moved by ICE leaving Minnesota because they're just going to go somewhere else and do something else foul. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't assume that, this shift is a pulling away or a lightening up. They literally said our mission here is done. Like, whatever they came there to accomplish, they felt like they accomplished it enough, albeit with some, some consequences and losses along the way. And I don't want to, they bigger than bumps. I don't want to.
I was definitely being facetious, but I don't want to undermine the loss of life.
Exactly. But just making sure to be clear that we lost the Renee Good and the Alex Preddy along the way. And so that on top of them feeling like they accomplished their goal, because they made sure to be clear, like, okay, that happened. We're not leaving. You know what I'm saying? Then there was a whole lot of back and forth between what's his name, Tim Holman, about if they were gonna stay and if they were gonna come back and forth. Minnesota just been jerked back and forth for about a month, and I hope they win that Nobel Peace Prize because they deserve it. Like, if y'all know, they've been nominated, like the city of Minneapolis, I believe, has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
They do not. Look, the Nobel Peace, whatever that committee does not fuck with Trump.
Yeah, like at all, right?
So we're willing to give it to the whole state before we give it to your goofy ass.
Listen. And so I want that for them so bad, but I'm really concerned, and I'm building something here because I got a question to ask about this election connected to this, that it's going to be more ICE relocations. I feel like there will be more casualty. There will be more ramping up. We can't fall for the rules of what we saw in Minneapolis, where, ICE was out there, and then they had the National Guard out there passing out hot cocos and shit like that, and making people feel like the police was gonna keep you from the police and save you. Like, that was one of the biggest, dirtiest, nasty tricks I seen in all of this shit, was the posturing like another policing agency was there to be the mitigators and mediators between the police and the people. Like, y'all all need to work to stop it. Stop it. Stop it. So to me, the pot is still stirring. And I also saw a post today that made a very clear point that it is not that things ever died down in Minneapolis, ever got quieter, ever got easier for people. It is that the algorithm took that shit out of our rotation. We moved on to other things and stopped seeing it. Let's stop talking about it as much. But shit was still moving and shaking.
Yeah, shit was still.
Or after the weekend of, what was that? February. No, that was January 27, 28. So whenever that was. Right. So, like, wicked time still there, which means I think there's more to come. I also means that this is going to be more outcry, more unrest, right? That I'm of the belief that the only way out of the shit that we in is through some form of revolution. I don't know what that means and how far it's going to have to go. But I really am skeptical, and this is where I'm saying big shit here, so stay with me, about us making it to a November election. I think outcry and unrest. Here's why. I'm not saying everything's going to be, all blown up and kaboom. I'm saying it's going to cause things like the declaration of martial law. It's going to cause high militarization. We already know ICE is already going to be at the ballot boxes themselves, right? ICE is already going to be at voting locations. We know this shit, right? So I really feel like there was going to be an attempt to overly militarize elections and fuck them up. And here's where I'm going to stop talking and just turn over to you to see how you feel about what I'm saying, because you have a look on your face. I want to know what you're thinking up there. I also feel like we can't forget about Starlink. This past election was stolen. And leave it up to Donald Trump, he'll tell you that they tried to steal it from him and that they stole the Joe Biden one from him. The truth of the matter is, we know good and damn well them Elon Musk Starlink machines are directly why Donald Trump won his damn election this time. I feel like it was comments and tweets. He was out there telling people, I'm winning. I got it. Got it in the bag. We won by 1 million for billion votes. And we was looking at each other like, nigga, how? Right? So I don't think there's going to be an election. And if there is an election, I think it's going to be tampered with. That being said,
November, you don't think we're gonna make it to the midterms?
I don't know, bro. I think we have lived a life of unprecedented times. I think there is a world where they're like, shit's too crazy out here, too much unrest. We're gonna suspend the election for 3 months. We'll push it back and have it in February. Weird shit.
So here's the thing. Trump can't do that.
Trev on my side. That's all I'm saying. Look at the comments, Trev on my side.
Elections are ran by states. So Donald Trump can't, and I get it, right? I get it. They're not that powerful though. I'm gonna stop it right there. They're not that powerful. Like what they've done is they've created the type of chaos and the type of uncertainty that rich people can benefit from. They've created the type of chaos to where the people that run these corporations that kind of dictate how society go, and not even to be on no conspiracy theory shit, but like literally people make money in chaos. It's one of the best times to do it, right? And so all Donald Trump has done is create the type of uncertainty that the right people could make a ridiculous amount of money off of. Donald Trump has made a ridiculous amount of money since he's been in office, and as much as we talk about everything wrong with the Trump administration and what they let Trump get away with, the fact that this man has amassed a fortune off of being in the presidency, off of causing a type of chaos that business benefits from, it's only going to go as far as enough to create this type of unrest, but to stop the whole process, nah. They freed the slaves before they fucked up the union.
Bro,
They freed the slaves before they let the union fall apart.
He got disciples, fool. He got loyalists. He got people who, even in their separate statements, that's why I'm looking at Melodious saying, how many states do you think will get in line if they cancel voting or do something tricky with the voting? We're still mostly red states as a country, right? All you need is enough indigenous states. All you,
but again, though, a lot of that red is empty, right? Like a lot of that red is empty. So it's like, so I get the whole red state part, but most of the state influence exists in the liberal hubs. But
that's what we wanted to think. That's what we was waiting on Philly. We was waiting on this. We was waiting on that. Liberal big hubs that was able to kind of overcome the thresholds of what was happening in these red states. I'm just saying, bro. And like boom.
I'm an Afro pessimist too. Just like you. However, I don't think
you my cousin, but I'm not really related to you. I heard him say, he like, I'm your cousin too, but we're not really related because y'all heard it. Just throw an emoji in the chat if you saw that shiftiness that I just witnessed, where he was just like, I'm with you, but I'm not with you. He's about to make a line and draw a line, a demarcation in his politics that are inconsistent with what I'm trying.
But hold on, but I don't think it's a question of my politics.
I think we agree. Go ahead.
I don't think it's a question of my politics. I think it's a question of waning Trump support. Like people are starting to, like a lot of people are starting to regret the fact that they voted for Donald Trump, that they supported Donald Trump. That most voices aren't out loud thinking like I'm riding with him with everything he's doing. Some of the loudest voices, when you got the white podcast bros sitting back like, damn, did we fuck up, bro? Did we get that wrong? Like, yes, yes, you did. And there are enough. There are enough Trump mouthpieces that, like, look what we're seeing with the shutdown. The unity's not there. Republicans don't have the type of influence to where anything Trump wanted to do, he could get away with. Maybe in his first term, maybe, but now this era of Donald Trump, there is enough dismay and frustration even amongst his base to where getting away with anything ain't what it is. Especially when you got people that's like, okay, even people that supported Donald Trump immigration policy going into his presidency is looking at it like, yeah, we want y'all to get him the fuck up out of here, but I don't like it like this though.
I don't know, fam. Here's the thing. I wanted to believe that in 2024, and I think mouths are loud, but votes are quiet. Votes are very silent and they're very private. And I think that is what we learned, is that these people will say anything. But a lot of Republicans, and how we got to this place now, is Republicans that are, you know what I'm saying it's red or nothing for me. I hate it. I hold my nose and do it, right? I turn away and like throw it in there real quick and walk away and leave out the voting center and put my little mail-in ballot in the box, just like the Dems do. Even though I hate it, I hate mail-in ballots because they all fucked up and but I'll say I'll mail mine in because it's gonna say Donald Trump on it, or it's gonna say the conservative party, of this gonna say the Republican Party. And so I want to believe that all of these people with their mouths are turning their backs on, but like I think all they need is a non-Donald Trump third term. That's not gonna happen, but a Trump adjacent candidate that is that has a new shiny veneer, but still some of the same politics. And they're gonna fall for the same shit. They're gonna say, well, let's hope for this, or at least he don't do this, or at least he don't talk like this, or at least he's not, you know what I'm saying, he wasn't in the Epstein files. Like that's where but they're still willing to have allegiances to the ideological direction of that party, which then undermines, I think, their ability to wake up out of this terrible dream that they've locked us all in. We stuck in that.
I'll say this, and then we can wrap it up. The way that we view the other side is very interesting. We forget that even though we have partisan beef, voters have similar behavior. And I think what we overestimate the confidence that people have in these parties, right? And we forget that they also get disenchanted. We forget that they also they was the ones that was like, yeah, we voting for him for the Epstein files, and they're watching them play a game with the Epstein files. They're the ones that was like, we voted for him for the economy, and they're watching a failure in the economy. So the same way that like liberals or progressives or leftists will look at the Democratic Party and say, yeah, I am a hardcore progressive, but I can't support these people. the others, that happens to the other side, and the reason why we know it happens is because that's how Joe
I
Biden
disagree
beat
because you and
Donald
I,
Trump the last time.
bro, you and I have sat on here and had conversations about the unique and very extravagant nature of the Democratic Party's cannibalism and the different ways that we find ways to eat people up, chew and spit out people who may not be perfect candidates, who may not be complete candidates. You even talked about building the perfect candidate and negating that exists, because it doesn't, but Democrats think it's supposed to. And we're not going to get that because the Democratic Party is not designed to be able to kind of have a perfect candidate, because it's always going to be some people who don't talk about somebody who don't talk about black people enough. And if they talk about black people enough, they a little bit too queer and a little bit too gay. And so that's going to be an issue. And then they too focused on immigration. And so they're not really keeping black people and Latin people on the same level, and they prioritizing their needs. And then at the same time, then are we ever really talking about black men? And black men feel like they left out the conversation, they supporting shit. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that shit becomes very complicated. I'm parroting the major perceptions. I didn't say I believe it. I know the numbers.
No. I said slow down because your ass was going flow mode, girl. You were not on the clock no more. You're
right. Listen, but this is the infighting. This is the cannibalism, and I say it that fast because that's just how fast somebody who has some potential, has a possibility of being power, gets eaten up and snatched up before they even get to go ahead and do any shit cool and talk about what's possible and talk about what's up. So the other side of that is Republicans are like, we don't really like the guy, but 4 years, what is that? We'll get somebody else better in there, but for right now, we just got to make sure we keep the immigrants out. Who knows what's going on, but we got to make sure that fiscal conservatism is a priority, right? I don't really care for, but you know, like they're willing to make those concessions in order to maintain and hold the line on generations worth of policy agendas and trajectories. And so I only speak so rapidly about the ways that the Democrats get in there is because we done twist and turn. This is how you get a panel of Democratic candidates of 22. Do you remember that bullshit?
Yeah.
When they had 22, they started out in chaos. Who the fuck rises to the top? Who separates themselves? They couldn't even figure it out. So they gave the American public 22 different people to try to weed through. Right? This is the class of your Andrew Yangs and your Elizabeth Warrens, and your Bernie was in there, and a whole bunch. Kamala was in the mix, like a whole bunch of people. And it's like, y'all don't even have, and y'all leaving it up to us, and we don't know shit. Y'all supposed to be the professionals. Dwindle it down and give us the best of what you have. But even when you do that, we always gonna find ways to nitpick and figure out that she's Indian, she's not black, she's mixed, we ain't ever really a full black president. You see, it's just Obama over again. The light skins always win. However people want to come at it, and be critical of some things. When these people trying to give $25,000 for your first house, child tax credits, they try to find ways to end conflicts and get out of wars and things. But that's not how the Democrats move. It's tricky.
Yeah, I think that. And I don't want to call it optimism, but I do believe that that even Trump supporters are starting to recognize that they was sold some bullshit. But speaking of voting though, make sure y'all go to NAACP Image Awards category digital content creators and vote for my man's Conscious Lead for NAACP Image Award.
I think the final day
is February 13th. So the final day is tomorrow.
All right. So vote today and tomorrow. Do your part.
So everybody that ride with Lee, man, make sure this is his second nomination. So make sure he walk away with the dub this time. And again, shout out to him and his family. Make sure
Substack.
Yeah, we got to drop the Substack. This is my Substack at the Political Plug. Y'all can find me on Substack. Shout out to Melodious.
Man, we try to tie it all together, fam.
Yeah, we got to. So y'all can follow me at the Political Plug on Substack, on Instagram. Unfortunately, still at fucking TikTok, but it is what it is. We're gonna rock out till it is, you know what I mean? So they kick us off that bitch because that's Toya, where can they find you?
You can find me here on the Chop Up Show on Thursday nights. I really don't need. I'm working on some things, man. Leading gave me some new fitness to hit. So I'm hoping to be on. Don't do me like that, Max. To be on Substack a little bit more because he gave me some insights on maybe how to move and shake over there. But in the meantime, y'all just catch me over here. You know, it's Toya G on IG. It's Prof Green HD on TikTok. And, you know, I'm going to try to drop some more stuff over there. But I'm talking about everything from leadership to motivation and empowerment. To some takes about the world we living in and et cetera and et cetera. And we should probably get the X popping again. You know what I'm saying? We do have an X on there. So go look at the Chop Up Show. We might get that repercolated. So just make sure you're looking out for us. But it's big love. Shout out to Boone's Farm for even saying X is a place we need to be. I know Lee is over there. So shout out to everybody who rock with him over there on the platform and the haters who don't. I'll be reading y'all comments. Y'all wild, but it's all right. It's all right. We know what we got going on over here. It's the conscious collective, baby. It ain't we chopped up, never slopped up. So we're not worried about it. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of beautiful things happening. Trev said HD leadership, that's my jam. So if you're looking for a leadership professional, if you're looking for a leadership coach, and by leadership, I mean like personal leadership, like you ready to up your game and elevate your own self, right? You ready to look at yourself and really, you know, guide or be guided to the next level of the best version of what you're trying to do, holler at me. But also organizations, corporations, government agencies. I do leadership facilitation. I'm trying to, you know, encourage you to live your life in higher definition, like your phone, like your TV, like your tech, higher sharpness, higher clarity, right? Higher resolution about how it is that we move through this world. So that's my jam. You know, he's mad because I figured out how to brand myself, but I'm just out here trying to do a thing. So you can look me up at higherdefinitionlec.com. And with that, plug anything else you got to say to the people?
Nah, that's it, man. We'll see y'all next Thursday. 2 shows in 1 week. We did it. We back.
And by the way, y'all quick in the comments if y'all was rocking with the 2-minute drill. You know what I'm saying? It's something new we added in. We trying to always kind of keep it interesting, make sure we're covering as much as possible. So that's the new pivot. If you missed the 2-minute drill, go back to the top of the show. We take a couple minutes just to jump into some of the biggest topics of the week and the takes that we have on how we feel. So with that, we out of this thing. We love y'all. It's the end of the Chop Up. We'll be back next week. Peace out.
Yeah, it's the